says Be'inyan Hayom Shebein Yom Kippurim LeSukkos. And what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to read across the top a little bit, give us an idea of what he's talking about. Gam Kol Shmona Yemei HaChag, also the 8 days. Keseder Nachon, Beseder Nachon, in the proper order. When we talk about that, how this whole gets started. So that's the day, this is where we understand it. That's the day that the world was created. So therefore, every single day, as the cycle goes, so that's when the world was created. So that is that they come back to a situation like that. Now, I don't know where they were before this, so let's go. They go to a position where they're ach to ach, but and you have to bring around pana b'pana. I want to remind us that what he said the last time was that the nook doesn't come around 100% to the face. At least that's where we were back then. I don't think we had the time to really find out why he said it's on the side and not on the front. That there's more to it. The chibuk, and then there's the concept of chibuk, the nishuk, and zivug. So from going from the place of being back to back, we have to move them around. Nimshach, in Rosh Hashanah. So this extends out from the time of Rosh Hashanah. Let me see where we're at. So, wait a minute, what did I miss here? Okay, I'm at the top. The mission, but Rosh Hashanah ad Shmini and Atzeres, it goes on to that time. But Tam Arichos, so the reason, here we go. V'tam arichos zeman zeh. So the reason that the length of this amount of time is boyer l'kamon, we're going to explain. Be in his pashtus a chasada b'tzad ima benuk v'dezer anpin from the side, looking at the spread of the chasadim that come from even originally and wind up in the nukva. B'hine b'yom rishon shal Rosh Hashanah ad Yom Kippurim nenasrim kol eses sfira shal rachel nok bezah. Then we see that's what happens over there. So he says the zah me'achrav, from she's on his back. V'az she becomes removed. Az be'erev Yom Kippurim nigmaruchel balachas, and the sirasas, and now she's completely free. V'nimsa shadol p'chayser ru'oya leziv, but she's not fit to live together with Zeranpin, to become one with him. So therefore, all of these times, Shebein Rosh Hashanah, the Shmini and Atzeres, call azivugim kulam, all of the Yehudim, Heim Yisrael o Yaakov im Leah. They're always Yisrael, which is above the Chazer, or Zeranpin, or Yaakov, which is below the Chazer, but with Leah. So this I don't really know right now. As we have talked about before, he said, "V'hi kol v'hine kol hayom shebein Rosh Hashanah the Yom Kippurim." All of those days. Hey, but is small tachas the roshi. So this is a phrase that we really want to know what he's talking about there. Shehu inyan chibuk hasmall, which is also the concept of the hugging of the left line, of the left. But inyan who, so he says like this. The inyan is like this. When we talked about it, so this is the concept of pushing the really strict dinim, pushing them over to the nook, which exists on the back of the male. So we see the concept of backsides, and then to place them in the nukva, or give them to the nukva. Then the chesed, then zer anpin remains completely chesed. The nook kula din, then the nook is completely din. So in order to sweeten up those dinim, so he hugs her with his left arm. Because the only way you could do that is to sweeten the dinim, is through, or perfume the dinim, that's the word he uses, ela b'sharshim. You have to go back to the root, which is the root of the dinim is on the left side. V'hinei shorish hadin shal nook. So if we look at the root of the din that has to do with the nook, he's smaller the zer anpin, so it comes out that it's the left side of zer anpin. Now, maybe this had to do what we were talking about before, that she doesn't really come wholly to the front, she comes to the side. I'm not sure. So he's a so therefore he puts his arm around, so to speak, the backside of the nook. Asher sham nikna nadinim ayidei hanisira umachabka, and he hugs her then bismola with his left arm. Because misbasbim v'nechnoim v'nim talking. So you have these three things. Brings a fragrant smell to the nook. You know, he used the word basim, which must mean that it doesn't smell so good, or the reich is bad. And then humbles them, and she becomes sweeter. Now, I didn't really go much further than this, but I'm thinking that maybe I'll just read along and see the general ideas, or if you'd like, we could go into it more deeply. He says, "Ubir inyan dachiba kazel." Let's explain this. He says, "As inyan, and what's really going on over here is this." When we talked about the drashim on the shofar, there it goes. He says in Rosh Hashanah, when Zer Anpin falls into dormita and he is surrounded by sleep, Heim yotzim hamochin shelo im levusheichem, and his mochin come out clothed. What are they clothed in? They're clothed in the netzachod yisod of Ima, of yotzim etzochel, and they come out of that yisod v'nishar yashan, and I guess they come out as their anpin v'nishar yashan, and remain sleeping. So in this particular time, v'oz trin mochin dechurim, and now we see that there are two male. I think we have to really look into this more closely. He said v'oz trin mochin dechurim. The two male mochin come in, chochma, and what's the other one? Ve'itra de chesed, and the right side in the middle. Nisha'arnim bilti levusheichem, they're there, they have no garments. So in other words, they're free. I don't know what this means, but bechilas or makif al rosh their anpin, and they are the concept that is the chesadim, the chesed itself, I guess he says a chochma itself, and the right half of das. V'trin mochin nokvein bina, so the two mochin that are female, bina ve'itra hagavura, digavura, degavuras mislavshim toch ha'achod de bina bilvad v'neknasim toch nuk bebechinas mochim, and they come into the nukva with the concept of mochin. V'inyan the kichas anoch, so the concept here we're talking about of the taking of the nuk, the itra agavurazu, he hanikra b'lashon chibuk small. So let me read that one more time. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it in a minute. But the words are, he says, because now he wants to tell us what the chibuk small, the pshat in that. Niknam tos nuk, them at the bottom of Nun Aleph now. The niknasim toch nuk bebechinas mochin. So they come in from that left side. They come into the nukva. V'inyan the kichas hanuk, so the inyan, he says, of the taking of the nuk, the itra gevura zu, he hanikro b'lashon chibuk small. So that's the language that we use to talk about the gevuros going into the nukva. He al yedecha bezeh, because this way, this matkim hadinim shalo kenisker, it sweetens her dinim. V'ofen ki bizman hadormita. So I'll explain him a little bit more, he says. Ozba inyan chibuk is small. That's the time when we say this chibuk is small, which he says to transfer those dinim from his left side to her. V'oz dinim shalom misbasmim, it perfumes her dinim, sweetens the reich. V'oz huzaman the nesira, and that in fact is the time of the nesira. V'shloshes Bechinos Elo, these and Naasis Yachad, they all come together. Now, I'm not sure what he meant by the Shalosh Bechinos. If he meant the Chabad, I'm not sure. Ki ad yedecha dormita, because this is what it says. When Zer Anpin falls completely asleep, Ein Yanika, the Nekeva, ayedecha zancha, she doesn't get a nursing, she doesn't feed from the male. V'az nifradim ma'achareichem of the Nasrim. So then she separates from him and she becomes independent. V'oz nikneses itra hagdegavura ubina dezah. So then that aspect that was inside of Zah, in nikneses itra the gavura ubina dezah, besod mochim alacha, and they become mochim for her. V'zechu chibuk small. This is the concept, if you were wondering what it was, which is called the chibuk small. V'havein called zehetiv. Spend some time working on this. Let's go back and let's pick up the tiv on number Yud Ches on page Nun, and we'll pick up the tiv. So it starts like this. Let's just read a light bit. So he says, "Bir hasod shel smola gatach the roshihu." Let me explain this. Kisod hanesira hu sod the kiyas adinim. So that's the idea: is pushing the dinim over to the nook. Sheba'achre zer anpen v'nitnan benuk, and they go to the nook. This allows Jazab to become kula chesed, v'hi kula din. V'hi nechad nishar ata chabezecha b'kula chesadim. Ki ha'recha nasan lo kol b'chinas ha'gevur sheyesh bo. That's really an important idea. V'hanuk ata kula gevuros. That she's all completely and totally gevuros, ki l'rak gevuros. So he says, v'ata. So now he says, Mivasem small b'mitzvahs tkiyas shofar. Let's go back. How does this happen? He says the tkiyas shofar is related to the concept of the chibuk, that is the hugging with his left side. Mitzvah shall tkiyas shofar, because that olim agavurot besod mayim nukvin l'abba ve'ima. Then the gavuros go up into abba ve'ima mizdavgim, and it causes a yichud. That's mayim nukvin going up. That's what happens when you blow the shofar. He said, "V'nim shachim gevuros chadashim b'mutakim b'butzam," and it causes a result of that new gevuros to come in. Shehu b'chinas smolo, which are the gevuros of the aspect of the left side. Ve'ein hamtachas adinim ela b'shorshim. That's our rule. Shehu small the zeranpen. Moving down, he said, "V'shorish hamochin the nokim," and so the root of these mochim of the nook. Bismols of Zer Anpin is on the left side. That's the root of the mochim of the nook are going to flow into the left side of Zer Anpin. Kisham koya nimsaim gevuros, because that's where her gevuros are. That the gevuros are going to wind up in her. For the chen bechabek as acharachu shalanuk. So therefore he hugs, so to speak, the back of the nook. Now I don't know why he says the back of the nook. If she's back to back, well, is she free? I'm not sure. Maybe a little mixed up in the story. But he says, anyway, he hugs the back of the nook. So I guess we're still in the process of the Nesira. So then enters all the rest of the Gevuros into the nook. Nikra small, so gets for Nira and Nikra. Her reception is called left. As we mentioned before, they're also called by that name. And when you blow the shofar, it causes a hugging of her. And what actually happens there? He says, so he actually elevates all the gevuros in the secret of man, la'ava be'ima, and as a result of that is what she said, causes a yichud la'ava be'ima or more reading gevura chadashim, b'china b'panim, which is an aspect of panim dik gevuros, yeah. V'nidlach b'lo derek neck in the chaza, and they come to her through the neck of the chaza. Now it's a little different beer over there. Now they're coming to her. She's still not completely menusar, is that the right word? She's not completely removed from Ziranpin. So he's a beer sod hachibuk. So let's look a little bit more and try to understand when he says this chibuk. Bahar chava kanizka the echa bedrasha shofar, which we got previously, v'zechu bebiur, and this biur, and this is his explanation. B'yom Rosh Hashanah, when they spray, when we pray shachris, we get to the word ba'ava, no fellas tardema. So then the dormita falls to the tardema. It's two different words here. It's really the root of the same word is pretty much the same. He says, no fellas tardema, then that deep sleep comes in. But so hapasa v'yafel, or yipal, elokim tardema ala adam, v'yashen kaviyachol alza, v'yashen kaviyachol alza. That is, the tardema comes on to Zer Anpin, he goes into a deep sleep. light print. He said, "V'yotzim amochim shelo shehem chochma bina das." Now his mochim come out im leveshechem in their clothing. Shehem netzach chod yisod de'ima. So in other words, the mochin that are coming to Zer Anpin are going to come into the from the nai, be lodged in the nai of ima. Moach hachachma b'levush netzach de'ima. He says it. Moach habina b'levush hod de'ima. Moach hadad b'levush yisod de'ima. V'nishar yashin b'li mochin. So now he's sleeping. He has no mochin. Ad tekiyah shofar until the time when the tekiyah shofar comes in. He says, then what happens? V'az shnei mochim and azcharim. So the two male mochim, which we mentioned previously, shehem chachma ve'itra dechasadim, nish'arim besod or makif al reisha dezer antin bilti levush imas. In other words, all the female aspect goes into the nook, and that's the hugging that he was talking about. But and going around on her back. This is still not quite sure, but he says this is going to bring mochin chadashim, which are going to be a little bit sweeter. So the is oros makifim, but now you have the lights of the right side, of the male side, or a makif. V'shnei mochin manokvin, and the two mochin which are on the left side. Shehem moach abina v'itra de gevuros mislavshim toch levush hachod de'ima bilvad. They're clothed inside of the clothing of ima only. A mispashti b'kol kumas anuk goes all the way to besod mochin. Moving along. So now that's what's happening. V'inyan shemekabelas anuk ha'itra de gevuros. Now what's going on there? When we talk about this, the itra de gevuros, who's so chibaka small, that itself is what we call the chibaka small. Because when she received those gevuros from Zer Anpin, so let's go back. When she was receiving from Zer Anpin, she got only what Mekabelas Rak Ha'ara. She only got a secondary light, just a glow from the gevuros themselves. But now Mekabelas Atzmos and Gevuros, she's getting the gevuros, the meat of the gevuros, Shem Hoyus small the Zer Anpin, which were previously on the left side of Zer Anpin. V'hem nikroim chibuk. So he says in plural, they are called chibuk, hugging. Ki heim yoseb b'tachos ki zechaklau, because they're more sweetened. So the idea, and I guess he means to say the hugging is a kind of a loving kind of phrase. Hadinim elyonim mamtikim hadinim shel hatachton. So now the other higher level of dinim are now going to sweeten up the dinim that she had originally. V'chein bezman adormita. So at this same time, oz hu zman chibuk small. That's the time of the left side being hugged. So he says, key. Why? Ki oz dinechom misbasmim. Now her dinim becomes sweetened. Kevin Shiboyim al Yedecha Ima, since they're coming to her through Ima, Behem Yoser Chushuvit, and they're considered to be a higher level. Excuse me. Vaz Magia Hazmana Nikra Nasira, and that is when the time of Nasira comes. So it's not just the straight dinim that went up as man, and then as a result of that came back sweeter. V'shlosha Bechinas the Salam. Ma shahara beforish acher kach. Now he's going to explain after this. The height of bechinas aleph, base, and gimel naase beyachad. Now I'm not sure what that means. He means the whole tsalim comes at one time. I'm not sure. Bisman and Nasira, which takes place at the time of the Nasira. And try to look into this a little bit more. Let's read the black print here. He says, Ki ayidecha dormita, ein yenika the nook. She can't get any. So let's go through these three bechinos, he said, Aleph, Beis, and Gimel. He says, Ki al yedei shachazahu b'dormita, because by the way of Zah being in the deep sleep, v'yotzem natzachod yisod de'iba b'tocha b'zer anpen, and they leave Zer Anpin, the levushim that cover the mochim, together, I guess, with the mochin, leave Zer Anpin, the betocha netzach nitzamach chachma the Zer Anpin, the betocha chod nimsoyim babida the Zer Anpin, betocha yisod nimsoyim achasodim gevuros the Zer Anpin, v'olam lamala, they go up then. V'chavibinas v'chagevuros niknas benuk, and then all of this action, that is the bina, that it's the left side, and the gevuros I guess he thinks he means the Gvur Sadas, Nik Nasa Benuk, they go into the Nook. Ve'ena Mekabela B'zer Anpin, and she's getting nothing B'zer Anpin, B'ke'ein Lo Atach B'mal L'Seis L'Nook, because he has nothing in him to give her. So he says, Ubechinas Shnia, so they've oz Nifradim Ma'acharayim V'Ninasrim. So then they become separated along the back sides where they were touching before, and they become removed. So the second aspect, he says, what's happening now? That's what happens. That's the second stage. Is that there's no flow coming from Zer Anpin. But the third stage, Bechina Gimel, Sha'az Niknasim Ba Bina V'Itra the Gevurus the Das the Zer Anpin. Then there you see that coming in are the Bina, the Itra the Gevurus the Zer Anpin. Now they're coming in this left side. Derek Netzach Hod Yisod the Ima, and they're coming the same way. They're all clothed. Itra the Gevurus Besoch Yisod the Ima Bechina small the Emsa, which is the left side of the middle. The Bina the Zara Besoch Hod the Ima. Bechina small, that's the left and the left. Niknasim besod mochim, they come in now in this as mochim into the nook, umispashtin bekol kumas nook, and they spread over the whole side of the nook. So it's a yesh lona shlosha bechina rishona. So let's look at the three. Chibach small bedormita. So the left side. So the first of all, this concept of the left arm hugging takes place during the dormita. Shehin the Neseris V'mena, which is the process of him, she becoming removed from him. Ve'in he Mekabela V'mena, she receives nothing, but Bechina Shenis. Okay, a little break, and I can get a little cup of water here. Trying to run through this as fast as I can so we can get something a little bit done. This is our last year. Okay. We're going back on this. Let's just start from the light print on Kaf Zion. He says, Yesh lanu shlosha bechida rishona. Chibach small bedormita. Shehin neseres b'mena. So this whole process is the Nesira. Vein he mekabel b'mena, she gets nothing for him. But bechida hashenis, sheniknas barach hakav small the ima. Now you have the left line of ima coming into her. Shehin chabina v'chagavuras bechida shlish. Excuse me. That is the binos. And he has it in plural, Vagvuros, and the Gavuros, which are coming, I think, he means from the Itra de Gavur. But in any case, it's Gavuros as well. Vagavuros me'ima, Vagavuros come from ima nimtakim denacho, they sweet the dinim that are already in the nook. V'zecha v'nikra chibuka small, so this is called the hugging of the left. Because the Inyan Asa at Erev Yom Kippurim, this whole process is done in the Saras Yimei Tshuva. Mavarchenu Rav Shenizka the Havin, so Hibakasmol Hetiv, so he gives us a blessing. So let's go back up on the top and let's see if we can read along and try to get the idea here. V'Yom Kippurim Kavar V'Char HaEses Sfira Shalom Nenas Rochem Erev Yom Yom Im Zer Anpin Atzma. Let me see if I got this right. I think in Yom Kippurim. There we go. Page Nun Dalet. So he says, so he's, again, I kind of lost track of that. He says, what? The Spheres has already been in the Sira. Before Yom Kippur. So at the beginning of the night of Yom Kippur, Olam Medrega Acha Medrega, there is an aliyah that's taking place in the spiritual universe. It's going up one level after another, al ima law to the upper ima, beseder chachamisha tefilos kaniska the ale. So we probably talked about that previously. Of a chazaras musaf az nigmar abaliyasim sham, and then they're finally completely up in the top. Vinya aliyas aliyasu shamku. So the idea of their going up at this time. Besod v'yiven Hashem Elokim es hatzala, which is the concept that Hashem builds up the tzala, which I thought is a rock. He said ki sham he miskashetes b'kishuta, because this is the idea of building her up. This is actually taking place. This is the time that she is becoming adorned with the adornments of a bride. V'lokechas hachamisha gevuras min ima. Now she's getting the gevuras from ima atzma shelo ayidei zeranpin. Kamo ad ata beRosh Hashanah, which was like up until this time on Rosh Hashanah. So this whole idea now is a new idea. At Yom Kippur, at the end of it, at Nilo, a seal is made over those gevuros. So this is important to understand. The seal is what? Is the making of this vessel, a kli. Shebo nosunim hamayim nukvin, that the mayim nukvin is placed into. Shehein hachamisha gevuros, which are what? The 5 gevuros shalokacha be'ima, that she's now getting from ima. Now that, to me, that takes a little bit of explanation, so I want to go back and look at it. And the gevarn is bar la'el, so we've already explained up above. It's not her yisod itself. He's making a kli for her, so that is what we call over here the chosim is the making of a kli, but it's not the kli called yisod. So let's see if we have a little bit we could pick up on number lamed. Where are we? Lamed. It's light print. She starts to move up at Rosh Tavuna until she reaches the top of Tavuna. Al Yedecha Kedusha Sayom, through the Kedusha of the day by itself. Al Yedecha Chamisha Tefilos, then you daven 5 different tefilos. Ana Ma'alim as Rachel Imeno Ma'ala but Tefilos Arvis. So Ma'ala she started moving up, and then you get to Arvis. Ad Malchus the Bina. So he says, but Tefilos Arvis. Ad Malchus the Bina, that prayer, I guess he means that it comes to the Malchus the Bina. But the Tefilos Shachar Balachash, so when you're the quiet part, Ad Chesed Gevuras Teferes the Bina, it goes into that area, into the middle body. But the Tefilos Shachar B'Chazara, as you do the Chazar Sashads, is Ad Dasa the Bina, is moving up into the Tefilos Musa Balachash, Ad Chachma B'Bina the Ima, so you're getting up into that level. Over Chazara the Musaf, and then that she's already up to the Kasa Bina. Because all the Inyan over there, it's a nice thing to have known. He said this thought, this kavana here, that's taking place in this wonderful day, or this magnificent day, he sort of binyan and nukbakumasa shlema, is the builder. Ad rum ma'al also, until she comes to her whole height. Vata b'mintcha sheyom kippurim, so now at mintcha, maskel alisa b'yachadim leah. Now this is the part that I don't really understand. It begins, maskel aliso b'yachadim leah, she goes along with Leah, the nook, which is the upper part, which is from the chaza lamala. V'ola b'lachash ad rosh tavuna, and it comes up beyond that parsha, her own parts of, and goes up to the head of Tavuna, which is the parts of that is bringing all the shefa into her, of a chazara ad emsa teferes the bina, and when the chazara sashatz, until she comes to the end, the emsa of teferes the bina. So she's moved up from the bottom to the top there in bina. But the fetus neila balachash ad rosh the bina. She moves up to the rosh bina. Another little breakcito here, so we just got a little break here, and Rib is coming back. Oh, let's go over to, what did I say? We're going to be 5 lines up from the bottom, in the middle, where it says v'ola balachash ad rosh hatavuna, to the top of tavuna, over chazara ad emsa teferes debina. Of a tefilas ne'ila, when you get to that, balachash, ad rosh bina, till you get to the top of bina. Of a nifkashu zer azah rachel v'leah kulam b'keser debina v'chazara ad ne'ila olam shaloshta. Now I'm missing a little bit there. He says uva tefilas ne'ila on the lachash part. It goes all the way up to the rosh bina. The nifkashu zer anpin, and then zer anpin actually touches them. Zer anpin rachel v'leah kulam b'keser de bina, so that all of the 3 of them are tied together in the keser of bina of chazara de nila. Now you're coming back to the chazara that takes place at nila. Olim Shaloshna, they all three go up even higher. Ve'ima ilo ledikna the Kedisha, that is, let's read again. Olim Shaloshna, and together with Ima ilo, they all go up to the Dikna Kedisha of Erik Anpin, which is a place of pure, sweet light. So light print again, Vesod Aliyas Anuk, that's secret here. Who besod the Kosev comes into the secret of this pasuk. V'ivan Hashem Elohim Shehem Abba Ve'ima. So he said, let's talk about it again. This phrase that Hashem builds up the nukva. The Abba, so he said they're really referring to Abba Ve'ima. V'ivan Hashem Elohim, the two names Hashem and Elohim refers to Abba Ve'ima. Es Hatzala, the rib. That's that what we said before, that rib. Sod Hanuk, which is the secret of the nukva. A miskashetis me'ima, and she becomes adorned from ima. A kastra, what's the right word? Adorned. Let's just leave it the gevuras she'em kishutecha yudua, and the gevuras are really her adornment. Ki hanuk he besod the gevura, because she is the deep sod of gevura. V'lokechas me'ima chamisha gevuras, she gets 5 gevuras from ima, but shehem itra, the gevuras, which are really the itra of gevuras, which is the 5 gevuras which are contained in the yesod of ima. She gets nothing for Zer Anpin, Kamosha Lokacha B'mena B'Rosh Hashanah Ad Yom Kippurim. So he said, but B'kevin Shachanot Tzrich Shmira Gedoyle Ma'od. So she has to be very strongly guarded. And this, I guess, is a basic principle that we see about by changing the word from Nekeva to Nuk, is that we're seeing it, we're guarding her, it's a guarding around her. Yanko be Yesod Shabbat, that the Yisonu should not get a hold of her Yesod, ki he kula dinim, because she is completely full of dinim. V'gam shehi b'sfira achrona shalot zilus, so she's at the very bottom of the zilus. V'yichola mechitzona the yale b'pesach hatachton shalos, so the very opening opens, which is the opening to her womb. Then you see that the dinim can come into the besod of the Pesach Chatos Rovetz. That's a kind of there's plenty of Chatos waiting around over there. So therefore, when you're coming to Ne'ilah at Yom Kippurim, so now that join together all the Chamisha Gevuros, also the Rabbi Ima Chosim, so Ima makes for her a seal. Now going back to that concept, that seal again, besod gan noel achosi kala. So this is a quote over there, that the locked garden, achosi, of my daughter or my loved ones, he said, kala, machosi gala, my sister, who is also my bride. Kamo kala ogeris, like for example, I'm not sure what this means, who girds piska lebaila, she girds her opening for her husband, shelo yishlu bazar, so that nobody foreign should be able to get into that. Ad shmini atzeres yom nisuim. So now we see that the chosim is really closing up and protecting the nook of l'chein oim recha b'tefilus and ne'ilah. So therefore, when we get to ne'ilah, we say chasmeinu l'chaim. That's what we're saying that, because now we have the chosim. But what we're talking about now, I don't know, but I'm not sure where this came from. So he said, what he's really talking about, this chosim, is the kli of mayim nukvin. Shabo neknasim b'mayim nukvin, because into that, the mayim nukvin goes into that. In other words, it's the construction, this is a little detail. The construction of that kli is the kli that I'm saying my word, transports mayim nukvin. Shabo neknasim b'mayim nukvin, shehem chamisha gevuros, shekib d'chabayom, ima, that she is now receiving from Ima. That's it. I think that might be the end of the shir. Let's see, Rebbe cut out there, and we're really at 1 minute left if we have that. Okay, we have a little bit more. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so let's look at number Lamed Daled. I think we're going to finish up here because Lamed Hey is a little different piece. He says, we've already explained previously. Ka'chosim eina l'tzorech binyan atzmos yisod denuk. That's not what the chosim is doing, mamish. Rak kli shebesocho, but it's in a kli that's inside of the yisod. Miskabsim hachamish gevurot, and that kli gathers together the 5 gevuros of halachosim atzpa na'aseh b'Hoshana Rabbah, but the real chosim comes at Shoshana Rabbah. This is it, Rebbe. Have a wonderful, safe, and sweet time in L.A. Come back and give us a complete report, but really a sweet time for you and your family. Kol tov.